If you're here to see the beginning and end, well, here's the beginning and here's the end. But that's not the interesting part. That would be the 18 months in between. We start with a JIT in high school. See, I'd done a bunch of programming, but I never made anything like good. I, like many young developers, thought that a cool game requires style over substance, which resulted in tech demos but not real games. So it was my final 3 months of high school and I needed to get a small game just to hold me over. If you're paying attention, 3 is a lot less than 18. We'll get to that. See, my friends and I, we had this joke that the worst job on earth was working as a mappa animator. So why not turn that into a game? Thus, Japanese salaryman, yes, that's actually the name, was born. The idea is you're a miserable salaryman at the fictional company Meta. Wink wink, nudge nudge. You work there for a week and you just try not to kill yourself from having such a miserable job. It might be a little bit in bad taste. Don't worry, it gets better. The basic actual game concept was that you would work on a bunch of office related micro games, and I was like, oh my god, this is so cool because I'll be able to make a bunch of mini games and that will boost my programming skill. I was really stupid. I'm going to skip over all the initial programming details because that's boring as fuck. You guys don't care if I made a guy move. I'm sure that you might have seen that. You expect that to happen, right? But I made some of those micro games. First was this Flappy Bird clone, where you're manipulating the stock price of your company up while avoiding the scrutiny of regulators. Then there's this email game where you respond to your coworkers' emails. Maybe that will come back later. And this Piano Tiles clone, where you're sorting documents. All of them are ugly as fuck. See, I'm a relatively good programmer, but I'm a dog shit artist. Although I get better, the art limitations were certainly an issue. Another issue was that the game was also shit from a butt. So, real talk, how are we going to make this game good? And how are we going to do that without art? Well, first we need to figure out what the hell our issues actually are. 1, it's not fun, at all. 2, there's no sense of progression. In any way, it's just the same game over and over and over again. 3, it is corny as fuck. And 4, there's really no why for the player. There's nothing to keep them going, right? Now, I'd like to say I was a genius who immediately solved all these issues, but solutions take time. My answer to making the game more fun was corporate espionage, hacking. See, I'd finished playing Persona 5 and I really like this whole double life idea. So why not be a salaryman in the day and a corporate hacker at night? Hacking also provided a sense of progression. If you could unlock new abilities, then the player had something to work towards, and the hacking made more interesting storylines possible. The product was this. Oh, you were expecting this? We'll get there, but more failures are needed first. This hacking was a stealth top-down shooter where you infiltrate enemy servers discreetly. Think Metal Gear Solid 1 x Persona 5 dungeons. You would hack into targets, and whenever you completed a dungeon, you would unlock an upgrade point, which could be used to unlock a bunch of different abilities. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, Neil, what gives? There's something just not right here. There's no way that this game becomes this other game, right? And the answer is that you're kind of right. See, I haven't been 100% truthful with you because it's not 18 months of game dev. It's 14 because I skipped 4. And the reason why is that at this point, I'm just ashamed of this man, right? The story is dog shit and badly written. The gameplay is just completely lacking. There's no sauce to it. So I fucking give up, man. I play Persona 3 for the rest of the summer. And then, when college comes around, I focus on that, right? But the only thing is that this idea kind of stuck with me, It's just there's something to it. And I don't know if there's something to it to you, but there's something to it to me. Winter break rolls around and I'm kind of thinking well, the job market's cooked anyway, so why not stick with game dev? And this is where Japanese Salaryman version 2 begins. The version where we start to really fix all these problems for real this time. So how do we make version 2 actually good? Well, part 1 of that, I think, is making the story better, right? I haven't talked about it that much up to this point because it was just bad. It was very I'm 14 and this is deep. It was never quite Undertale 2016 fanfiction bad, but still bad. A lot of the core elements of the story have been kind of kept in place, but the execution of it has been improved a lot. I won't spoil the actual full story in case, you want to play it, but the core idea is pretty similar, but with a few twists. That idea being you're a salaryman in gambling debt, and you're paying off that debt by doing corporate espionage at night while working your salaryman job in the day. On to fixing hacking, there were many problems here, but here's what I identified. First, There's a huge clash in gameplay between stealth action and office sim. They share no commonalities, which is actually a recurring problem in this project. This makes the game feel very, very disjointed. Second, there's no real depth to this game. You go around dodging enemies, try to find a key, and that's about it. Now, I did come up with a bunch of different enemy designs and prototypes, but none of them really hit. Third and finally, to have unique and distinct levels, I need a bunch of art. Otherwise, it'd be the same boring shit over and over again. Imagine if all of Persona 5's dungeons looked like the first arena. Boring, right? So, I get rid of it, and I need a hacking game to replace it. And this is where we get this prototype, right? Hey, that looks a bit more familiar to what you've seen before. The core idea here is that you're kind of like building a weapon to hack with, right? And the way you're doing that is you're building up kind of like a hacking gun. So you start off with your like very weak attack, and then you can like stack on multiple towers on top of that to build like a stronger and stronger and stronger weapon, right? You can kind of think of it like tower offense, if that makes sense. But this is generally just a huge improvement because it's easier to add depth, there's more layers to it, there's more just kind of thought and execution in it, and it matches up with how the rest of the game kind of feels in general. Looking back at the timeline, I'm in my second quarter of university. I've participated in a few game jams and made some other projects. Comment if you want to see the stories of these, by the way. I really want my game to look better. Now, you may think this is where we go from top down to a side scroller. Finally, the game will look better. Not yet. Really, what I wanted at this point was better looking portraits because, oh my god, my guys were ugly. So at this point, I contact my university's game development club, and I'm basically like, hi, can I pitch a video game? And they're like, So I'm in this room and I'm talking to like 300 people at this point. So I'm kind of nervous. And my presentation basically goes, hi, my name is Neil. I'm making a video game. It's called Japanese Salaryman. And you know, I get crickets at this point because like, what the fuck? The game's called Japanese Salaryman. Or more specifically, I get crickets from like artists, right? And there's still other people who want to join, but in terms of like fixing the art debt of the project, not right now. So of those people who wanted to join, there was Peter, who wanted to help with minigame programming. Then there was Sean, who wanted to help with like the design of those minigames. Then you had Angel, who basically was like an everyman for the project. He's like super enthusiastic and he would basically go on like whatever task we could find for him. And then you had Marie, who basically came up to me and was like, hey, you look super fucking unorganized. Do you need help with that for your team? And I'm kind of like, yeah, sure. And she low-key saves the project because of the fact that like she kind of abuses her position as a TA to basically give us an advertisement in the middle of a, you know, intro game design class. And that somehow convinces two artists to join our team, Vivian and Hai, and these two are like largely responsible for like all the art that you see in the game. This team is the OG7 that makes like a lot of like the original kind of upgrades to the game, right? But we still have much further to go. At this point, it's like early February and my team needs to kind of figure out like what our goal is, right? And UCI has a expo called Z3, which is kind of like E3, but like for university students, where university students show off their game projects. And our goal is like, let's try to get a demo out before then, right? So that demo was supposed to be the entire like prologue of the game, right? Which is like a week in game, which is about like an hour-ish roughly. You can play it right now and figure it out. At this point, we're still kind of trying to fix like the look of the game. The characters are looking much better at this point, but we're still kind of having a problem like making everything look right. Because despite the stupid name, like the story of JSM like varies in maturity, right? There are moments that like we intend to like land a certain way, and that is fucking impossible with a stupid chibi goddamn art style, bro. I'm telling you this, I cannot make this look fucking tough. We tried a bunch of different ways to make this look better. We started with like trying to add on lighting to it, but it was like giving kind of like Mario and Unreal 4 energy. So I'm in some CS lecture at this point, right, trying to figure this all out. Completely distracted, by the way, wasting my tuition. And I'm thinking through all the games that I've played and I liked recently. And I think of Katana Zero, and I think about it, and I'm like, well, that game does pixel art, but it also like maintains like a consistent tone, and it like doesn't come off like super cutesy, right? So I thought about it a bit more, and I was like, wait a minute, why the fuck are we top down? No, don't get me wrong, top down can be like great for a lot of games. But for us, and with our limited art resources, top-down wasn't really doing anything for us, and it was just getting in the way heavily, right? So after a bunch of messages trying to convince my team, they're basically like, okay, Neil, Cook, let's do this. Now, there's a small problem, and that's called the amount of art that the artists have to do. See, before, there was like a few portraits that they had to do, and now there's like environments and like characters and shit, and basically 2 artists would not be enough at all, right? So we start recruiting, and we do that by making these like World War II era flyers where we're basically like, join the team. And like, somehow it works. We get 2 more artists, we get someone who wants to compose a soundtrack for the game, and we also get someone who wanted to do UI UX for the game. And that brings us into the 10 weeks of hell. We had 10 weeks left to get our demo of the game into a polished enough state. The demo was supposed to last 6 in-game days, and I had 0. Now, they were written and planned, but they still need to be added to the game. However, the game didn't know what the hell a day was yet. This is where I crack out 2 big systems in 1 week. First was the Japanese Salaryman Events scripting language, JSME for short. This is a scripting language that handles all the in-game cutscenes and events. Looking back, I probably should have just used Lua, but it's kind of cool to say I made a scripting language for my game. Second was JSM Days. This is the backbone of figuring out what should happen and when. This uses a series of SQL tables to bind cutscenes and events to certain locations on certain days. If you're not a programmer, think of it like a bunch of Excel spreadsheets that lay out what should happen and when. Now, while I was doing that, my team was banging out environment after environment and character after character, and the weeks ticked down. Eventually, that June 2nd deadline arrived, and our team headed off to Z3 to show off our game. Now, not gonna lie, this was a mixed bag. See, I remember we all went in suits because salarymen, yeah, and there's this first girl who comes down and is our first playtester at the event. We try to explain the controls to her, and she's like, no, I'm in game development club. I know how games works. And then she immediately goes to the arrow keys, fails all the mini games, and then like rapid taps through all the dialogue. Oh my god, that was so miserable. Through the day, it gets a bit better, and it's kind of a mixed bag of a lot of people not really getting how to play the game and failing and all that, which is on us, but then also some people who like really enjoyed it, and that was very motivating, I guess. Also, a YouTuber made a Let's Play on the itch build of our game. Let me tell you, it's super weird watching other people play your work.
I can already feel my inner Japanese man coming. Predictable. But don't listen to him, you're doing fine.
As well as some interesting comments. Now, some of you may notice, hey, if Z3 was in June, then what the hell have you been doing for the last like 3 months? And the answer is a lot, but not intentionally. See, the original plan was we did actually want to release our demo in line with Z3. Our reasoning was like, okay, there will be a lot of tension on that date, so like it might be good to get people to go to Steam and then download it. And then we ended up not doing that. Not for any intentional reason, just because by the time that we had to submit the Steam demo, we kind of looked at the game and were like, not ready.
Reload day? Wait, that reloads the whole day?
And that's actually really good, because our original plan was really fucking stupid. To explain why, let's go into how like Steam demos work. The simple answer is basically like you get one shot to upload your game, and you want it to be the highest of high quality that you can, because Steam has like a bunch of, well, good games on the platform, right? So why would anyone waste any of their time on your buggy project? Therefore, you just want to make sure that you just have the best version of your game possible, which we did not. See, we only had like one playtesting event before Z3, so Z3 was like our second playtesting event. And if we were to release on the same day, then we wouldn't be able to use any of the feedback we got from the convention, right? So that delay ended up being a really good thing. Because at Z3, there were still like a lot of problems that we noticed, a lot of bugs, and just like a lot of issues with the game. As an aside, someone wrote a piece of literary journalism on the bugs in our game. So no, it was not ready at all at this point, really. So after Z3 and after our finals, we kind of go back to the drawing board for a few areas of the game to kind of figure out what needs to be done. And I think my college roommate pointed out kind of one of the most important changes. If you're playing Persona, you can look at that and be like, that's a Persona game. If you're playing Factorio, you can look at it and be like, that's Factorio. If you're playing JSM, well, it didn't really seem to have like a strong identity, visual or gameplay. And part of that was just due to how our first half of the game was working, those mini games. See, mini games were actually a really bad idea. And the reason is both from a mechanical side and that, I guess, identity side. From a mechanical side, Every minigame is a new set of control, and that's another schema that the player has to keep in their mind. This makes it feel really disjointed and not connected overall. The other issue is duration. Minigames are really short, so because of that they just kind of feel like a jolt in a direction rather than like a substantive event that the player is doing, if that makes sense. So we scrap it and we go thinking about like what to replace it with. And this is where the emails come back in. This time in a more of a, I guess, like Reigns flavored version. This game works by giving the player a series of emails every day that they have to respond to with a binary choice. It's very similar to Reigns, but with our own, I guess, salaryman twists in how it interacts with the rest of the game, and also its role in getting you your paycheck day to day. Generally, we're thinking the better your reputation with a certain faction, you get certain bonuses. So for example, if you have a higher reputation with security, you get an easier time hacking into different things. Also, a lot of the emails are stored away in chains where you kind of have like an evolving situation. As a side note, this is probably one of my favorite areas to develop because of the fact I got to make these fuck-ass photoshops. By the way, if you have any problems with them, that's my fault, not any of the artists. So yell at me, not them. Now, one of the problems that kind of comes from like larger projects is just, I guess, the complexity of adding new systems. Because whenever you add something new, you now need to think about, okay, this is how this connects with this is how this connects with this, right? Because otherwise you get like 5 disjoint games that don't really play well together. I think this is probably one of the things that went worst with Starfield, is that none of the systems actually had any interplay with one another. So we really want to avoid that, which is kind of what made this email minigame work very well. See, it kind of bridges the whole story with, I guess, mechanical action, right? Because you are playing as the salaryman, but you're kind of doing it more in line with the function of the game, right? It's more about thinking, less about mechanical skill. Anyway, with that done, and with a bunch more tweaks that I can't even begin to mention here, that brings us to today, which is, well, the release of the demo. You can go play it on Steam right now. We would really, really appreciate it if you did. Again, it's completely free, and maybe worth your time. I don't know. Maybe I was able to convince you. If you liked what you saw here today, maybe subscribe. I don't know. I don't really do devlogs because I think they're kind of like counterproductive to making like games because of incentives and shit. We also have a Discord in case you want to talk about all things salaryman related. With that, I guess I will see you guys whenever I decide to upload again or when the full game is released. Thank you for your time. My name is Neil, and please, 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 please check out our game. Thank you.